The holographic projection filled the war room with a chilling image. A fleet of colossal alien warships, their jagged, obsidian hulls bristling with weapons that shimmered in the void of space. They hung in orbit around the moon like a predator poised above its prey. Admiral Leon Grayson stood rigid at the center of the room, his steel-gray eyes fixed on the figure that emerged within the projection. A tall, robed alien with a face like carved stone and eyes that gleamed with cold indifference. "I am Praetor Karan of the Galactic Empire," the alien began, his voice low and resonant, cutting through the room like a blade. "Earth will submit to the Empire as a vassal species, or face annihilation. You have 48 hours to surrender. Choose wisely." The projection flickered out, leaving the room in an oppressive silence. The faint hum of the holographic projector was the only sound until President Marcus Harlow broke the quiet, his tone heavy with resignation. "We can't win this," he said, sinking into his chair. His suit, crisp and tailored, now seemed a poor shield for the weight he carried. "Their fleet is massive. If we resist, billions will die. We've faced impossible odds before." The voice came from General Ethan Cole, his square jaw clenched in defiance. "We can't roll over and let them enslave us." Leon turned to the long, polished table where Earth's political and military leaders sat. The war room, buried deep beneath the surface, was a fortress of steel and stone, designed for moments like this. His voice was calm but commanding as he spoke. "Resistance is our only option," Leon said, his hands gripping the edge of the table. "The Galactic Empire underestimates us. They think we're scattered and weak. They don't know about Project Aegis." A murmur rippled through the room, uncertainty mixing with faint hope. President Harlow's brow furrowed. "The warships? I thought that project was still in testing. Are you suggesting we bet the survival of our species on improving technology?" Leon nodded. "We don't have a choice. The Aegis fleet was built for this exact scenario. Small, fast, and armed with the most advanced AI and weaponry humanity has ever created. If we're going to fight, those ships are our best chance." General Cole leaned forward. "How many ships are operational?" 18, Leon replied. "It's not much compared to their fleet, but with the right strategy, it's enough to make them bleed." The room fell silent again, the weight of the decision pressing down on everyone present. Finally, Harlow stood, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. "Admiral Grayson, you have my authorization to proceed with Project Aegis. God help us all." Hours later, Leon stood in the hangar bay of the Dauntless, the flagship of the Aegis fleet. The ship was a marvel of human engineering, its sleek, angular design glowing faintly as technicians worked tirelessly to prepare it for battle. Around him, the other warships were being armed and fueled, their crews boarding with grim determination. Leon's thoughts were interrupted by the approach of two men. Captain Derek Stone, younger than most of the other commanders, was known for his brash confidence and unconventional tactics. Beside him walked Commander Victor Lang, a stark contrast with his calm demeanor and meticulous nature. "Quite the mess we're in," Derek said, his grin more defiant than cheerful. 18 ships against an empire? They'll write songs about us, assuming anyone's left to sing them. Victor gave him a sidelong glance. "Songs won't save us, Captain. Strategy will. And discipline." "Gentlemen," Leon interjected, his tone brokering no argument, "we're not here to argue philosophy. We're here to ensure humanity survives." Both men straightened, their banter replaced by the seriousness of the moment. "The plan is simple," Leon continued. "The Galactic Empire expects us to crumble. We'll show them we're capable of more than they think. Captain Stone, you'll lead the Vanguard Squadron. Your job is to lure their ships into a trap. Commander Lang, you'll coordinate the second wave. Timing will be critical." "Understood," Victor replied. Derek's grin returned. Lure the big bad wolves? My favorite kind of game. As the countdown to the Empire's deadline ticked away, Leon retreated to his quarters for a moment of solitude. The room was sparse, as utilitarian as the rest of the ship, but a single photograph sat on his desk, a picture of his family, taken years ago before the world had plunged into chaos. His wife's smile, his son's curious eyes, were a reminder of what he was fighting for. A soft chime signaled an incoming call. Leon turned to the screen on the wall, where President Harlow's face appeared. Admiral, Harlow began, his voice strained. I just wanted to say, whatever happens, you've done more for humanity than anyone could have asked. I believe in you. Thank you, sir, Leon replied, his voice steady. We'll give them hell. Harlow nodded, his image flickering out as the call ended. The deadline arrived, and with it, the first move from the Galactic Empire. Their fleet began to shift, positioning themselves to deliver a show of force. Leon stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, his command team working in practice synchronization. Enemy fleet is repositioning, reported Lieutenant Harris, his voice tight with anticipation. They're aiming their weapons at our orbital defenses. Let them, Leon said. We're not going to fight them on their terms. All units, prepare for Phase 1. Across the human fleet, ships came to life, their engines igniting with a brilliant blue glow. The Aegis warships, though few in number, moved with a precision and speed that belied their size. As the first salvo from the Empire's ships lit up the darkness of space, Leon gave the order. Begin the counteroffensive. The Dauntless surged forward, flanked by its sister ships. Humanity's defiance had begun. The void of space erupted in violent bursts of light as the Galactic Empire unleashed its first attack. Beams of energy lanced through Earth's orbital defenses, shattering satellites and space stations as if they were glass. In the command center of the Dauntless, Admiral Leon Grayson stood resolute, his gaze fixed on the holographic display that mapped the battlefield in real time. Their ships are targeting our outermost defenses, reported Lieutenant Harris, his voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around them. Let them waste their firepower, Leon replied. We're not here to play defense. All units, maintain formation and wait for my signal. Across the fleet, the Aegis ships moved with a deadly grace. They were smaller than the Empire's vessels, but their design was revolutionary, sleek, agile, and equipped with cutting-edge weaponry and AI systems that allowed them to act with near-human precision. Captain Derek Stone's voice crackled over the comms. Admiral, Vanguard Squadron is in position, ready to give our guests the warmest welcome they've ever had. Leon allowed himself a brief smile. Proceed, Captain. Remember, we need them to chase you. Don't get too comfortable out there. Comfortable? Never heard of it. The Horizon, Derek's ship, darted through the battlefield like a predator on the hunt. The rest of the Vanguard Squadron followed close behind, weaving between the larger Empire warships and drawing their fire. Keep them angry, Derek ordered, his hands steady on the controls. They don't think we're a threat yet, so let's make sure they regret underestimating us. As if on cue, an Empire cruiser locked onto the horizon and fired. Derek rolled his ship sharply, the energy blast narrowly missing the hull. Too slow, he muttered, firing back with the ship's plasma cannons. The blast struck the cruiser's shield, creating a ripple of energy but causing no real damage. It didn't matter. His goal wasn't to destroy, it was to bait. And bait he did. 3 more cruisers broke formation to pursue the Vanguard Squadron, their weapons blazing. Vanguard Squadron is leading them toward the trap, Lieutenant Harris announced from the Dauntless. Leon nodded. Good. Commander Lang, is your team in position? Affirmative. Victor Lang replied from his ship, the Resolute. His voice, as always, was calm and measured. "We're in position near Jupiter's moons. Once the enemy enters the kill zone, we'll strike." The Galactic Empire's ships surged after the Vanguard Squadron, their sheer size and firepower making them seem unstoppable. But as they entered the debris field near Jupiter, the dynamic of the battle shifted. The Empire's ships struggled to navigate the dense field, their size becoming a liability. "Now!" Victor ordered. The Resolute and its accompanying ships emerged from the shadows of the moons, their weapons blazing. Precision strikes targeted the cruiser's engines and weapon systems, crippling them before they could react. On board the Dauntless, Leon watched the operation unfold with a mixture of pride and urgency. "Well done, Commander Lang. Finish them quickly. We can't afford to linger." Victor's team moved with surgical precision, disabling the Empire ships one by one. But the victory was short-lived. "Admiral," Harris said, his voice sharp with alarm, "we've detected reinforcements. A second wave of enemy ships is approaching fast." The battle escalated as the Empire's reinforcements arrived, their formation tighter and more coordinated than the first wave. Leon quickly adjusted his strategy. "All ships, regroup at designated coordinates. We'll use the asteroid field as cover to split their forces." The Aegis fleet moved swiftly, their advanced engines allowing them to outmaneuver the Empire's bulkier ships. But the strain was beginning to show. Reports of damage and casualties poured in from across the fleet. In the midst of the chaos, tensions between Derek and Victor came to a head. "Lang, you're moving too slow." Derek snapped over the comms. "We're supposed to be outflanking them, not dancing around waiting for them to catch up." Victor's tone remained even, but there was a sharpness to his words. "If you rush in without support, you'll get yourself and your squad killed. Follow the plan." "Your plan's too cautious," Derek shot back. "We're fighting a war, not playing chess." "Enough," Leon interrupted, his voice cutting through their argument like a knife. "We don't have the luxury of personal disagreements. Focus on the mission, or I'll replace both of you." The silence that followed was heavy, but the tension eased as both men turned their attention back to the fight. As the battle raged on, the Aegis fleet scored several key victories. They destroyed 2 Empire destroyers and crippled a third, forcing the remaining ships to regroup. But the cost was high. Leon stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, his hands gripping the railing as he surveyed the damage reports. "Status update. We've lost 3 ships," Harris reported. "The Valor, Sovereign, and Defender. Casualties are estimated at over 400. Leon closed his eyes for a moment, the weight of those losses pressing down on him. But there was no time to grieve. "Understood. Prepare the fleet for Phase 2. We're not done yet." The turning point came when the Empire's flagship, a massive cruiser named the Infernal, entered the fray. Its presence was like a black hole, drawing the attention of every ship on the battlefield. Leon knew they had to act fast. "All ships, focus fire on the Infernal. We take that ship down, and we break their morale." The Aegis fleet rallied, their weapons converging on the flagship. The Infernal shields flared under the onslaught, but it held firm, its own weapons devastating anything within range. Derek's voice cut through the comms. "Admiral, give me the go-ahead, and I'll take the Horizon in close. We can disable their main weapon." "It's too risky," Victor interjected. "You won't survive." Leon made the call. "Do it. We'll cover you." The Horizon broke away from the formation, weaving through enemy fire as it closed in on the Infernal. Derek's hands moved with practiced precision, his focus unshakable. "We're in range," he announced. Firing EMP, a pulse of energy erupted from the Horizon, striking the Infernal and causing its weapons to flicker and die. "Direct hit," Harris reported. The Empire's flagship was disabled, its crew scrambling to restore power. The Aegis fleet seized the opportunity, launching a coordinated strike that tore through the Infernal's hull. As the remains of the flagship drifted into the void, the Empire's remaining ships began to retreat. The battlefield grew quiet, the echoes of destruction fading into silence. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Leon allowed himself a rare moment of relief. We've won the day, but this is far from over. Prepare the fleet for repairs and regrouping. The Empire will be back. His words hung in the air, a reminder of the battles yet to come. The silence in the war room of the Dauntless was palpable as Admiral Leon Grayson studied the incoming data on the holographic display. The Galactic Empire's fleet had retreated, but it wasn't a victory. It was a prelude. They were regrouping, consolidating their forces for a decisive blow. Now, the looming threat was clear. The Dreadnought, the Empire's largest and most fearsome ship, was advancing toward Earth. At over 10 kilometers long, the Dreadnought wasn't just a warship. It was a symbol of the Empire's absolute power. Its energy cannon was capable of obliterating entire planets, and its impenetrable shield system rendered direct assaults futile. "Time to arrival?" Leon asked, his voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. 30 hours, Lieutenant Harris replied. They're moving at sublight speed, likely to maintain formation with their escort fleet. Leon nodded, his mind already calculating the odds. He turned to Captain Derek Stone and Commander Victor Lang, who stood side by side near the strategy table. Despite their differences, both men had proven their worth in the earlier battles, and now their leadership would be tested to its limits. "Gentlemen," Leon began, "this is our final stand. If the Dreadnought reaches Earth, there won't be anything left to defend. We need to destroy it before it gets within firing range." Victor spoke first, his voice measured. "The Dreadnought's shields are its greatest strength. We'll need to find a way to breach them before we can deal any damage." Derek smirked. "Sounds simple enough. Just break through the shields of the biggest, deadliest ship ever built." "No problem." Leon ignored the sarcasm. "We have one advantage. They don't expect us to go on the offensive. We'll launch a surprise attack using Saturn's rings as cover. The debris field will mask our approach." Victor nodded thoughtfully. "And once we're close enough," Leon's gaze hardened, "we exploit its one known weakness, the energy core. If we can overload it, the resulting explosion will take the ship down." Hours later, the fleet gathered near Saturn, the icy rings casting long shadows over the sleek hulls of the Aegis warships. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Leon issued final instructions. "Captain Stone, you'll lead the first wave. Your job is to draw their fire and keep their fighters occupied. Commander Lang, your group will focus on disabling their shield generators. Once they're down, the Dauntless will deliver the killing blow." Derek grinned, his usual bravado masking the tension in his eyes. "Understood, Admiral. Don't worry, we'll give them something to chase." Victor, as always, was composed. "We'll get it done, sir." Leon stepped back, watching his officers leave to prepare their crews. He felt the weight of his decisions bearing down on him. There was no guarantee this plan would work, and every life in the fleet depended on its success. The Dreadnought emerged from the darkness, its massive silhouette dwarfing the surrounding ships. Its escort fleet, though formidable, was insignificant compared to the behemoth at its center. "Enemy ships have entered the engagement zone," Harris reported. "They haven't detected us yet." "Good," Leon said. "All units, execute Phase 1. The Aegis fleet sprang into action. Derek's squadron led the charge, darting through the debris field with a precision that belied the chaos around them. As the Empire's ships opened fire, Derek's voice came over the comms. "Keep moving. Don't let them lock onto you. His ship, the Horizon, twisted and rolled, narrowly avoiding a barrage of plasma fire. The rest of the squadron followed suit, their smaller size and superior maneuverability allowing them to evade the Empire's sluggish cruisers. Meanwhile, Victor's team approached the dreadnought under the cover of a debris field. Using the natural interference to mask their signals, they moved into position near the ship's shield generators. "Deploy EMP charges," Victor ordered. The charges, small but powerful, latched onto the dreadnought's hull. Seconds later, a ripple of energy spread across the ship's shields, causing them to flicker. "Direct hit," Victor reported. "The shields are weakening, but they're not down yet." On the Dauntless, Leon watched the battle unfold with a mix of pride and dread. His fleet was holding its own, but the dreadnought remained an almost insurmountable threat. "Admiral, we've lost the Vanguard," Harris said, his voice tight with emotion. Leon closed his eyes briefly, mourning the loss but refusing to let it distract him. "Focus on the mission. We're not done yet." As the shields finally failed, Derek seized the moment. "This is it," he shouted. "All units, target the core." The Horizon led the charge, diving straight toward the dreadnought's exposed underbelly. But the Empire wasn't done yet. Their fighters swarmed the attackers, forcing Derek to make a split-second decision. "I'm going in," he said, his tone uncharacteristically serious. Victor's voice cut through the comms. "Don't be reckless. You won't make it out." "Wasn't planning on it," Derek replied, a hint of a smile in his voice. The Horizon broke formation, accelerating toward the core. Enemy fire tore into the ship's hull, but Derek didn't waver. At the last moment, he triggered the ship's self-destruct, the explosion tearing through the core and triggering a chain reaction. On the Dauntless, the crew watched in stunned silence as the dreadnought began to collapse in on itself. The explosion grew, consuming the surrounding ships and lighting up the void with a blinding flash. "Status?" Leon demanded. "The dreadnought is gone," Harris replied. "But we've lost the Horizon and half the fleet." Leon's chest tightened, but there was no time for grief. "Signal the remaining ships. Regroup and prepare for potential reinforcements." Hours later, as the fleet limped back toward Earth, Leon stood alone in the observation deck. The battle was won, but the cost had been staggering. He thought of Derek's sacrifice, of the lives lost to secure humanity's survival. Victor joined him, his expression somber. "He knew what he was doing, sir." Leon nodded. "He saved us all." Victor hesitated, then added, "And he believed in you." "We all do." For the first time in days, Leon allowed himself a faint smile. Let's make sure his sacrifice wasn't in vain. As Earth came into view, battered but still standing, Leon knew the fight wasn't over. The Empire would return, but so would humanity. And next time, they'd be ready.